Okay, hi everybody, and thanks for coming to my talk, my quickie talk. And in the next 15 minutes, I will be talking to you about the fear of missing out and some ways how you can deal with it. So for the last couple of years, I've been using social media and primarily Twitter for staying up to date with what's happening in our industry. So I follow some interesting people, and I see which blogs they have written or which projects they are working on. And ever since I started doing that, I was getting more and more overwhelmed by all the cool stuff that people were doing, or at least the seemingly cool stuff. And because all these people were doing such a cool projects, I had a feeling that I was missing out on some things. I was doing a perfectly fine project, but seeing all these cool things, I had a fear of missing out, and I had FOMO. So why this talk? Like 6 months ago, I realized, okay, probably a lot of developers out there have the same problem that I have, that they see all these cool things happening and they want to be a part of it too. So I will show you some ways how I am trying to deal with my FOMO, and hopefully it's useful to you as well. So what is FOMO? This I just got from Wikipedia, and I simplified a little bit. Wikipedia says FOMO is a fear of regret, which may lead to a compulsive concern that one might miss an opportunity or an experience. So let me give you some examples. Sometimes when I talk to developers, they mention that they have a must-read book list. Books that they want to read about the field, and sometimes they even quote things from those books. I don't have such a list. So I think to myself many times, am I missing out on something by not having a list of books that I should be reading apparently? I ask myself, should I have a list? Another example would be, if I look around at a conference like Devoxx, I see a lot of laptops with a lot of stickers on them. I don't have stickers on my laptop. Actually, I didn't visit that many conferences. So then I think to myself, am I missing out by not having visited that many conferences? Another example would be meetups. So a couple of months ago, I decided that I should attend some more meetups. I should get out of my house and go to some meetups, meet some people. So I signed up for the app, and when I did, I got like 1,000 meetups in my area that I could go to, and they all seemed very interesting. And I was so completely overwhelmed by the amount of meetups that I couldn't choose one to go to. So in the end, I didn't go. So did I miss out on anything by not going to these meetups? And sometimes when you go interview for a new job or a new client, they ask you about pet projects. Do you have any pet projects? Sometimes I have to answer no. Currently, I don't have a real pet project. So am I missing out on a cool client or a cool project by not having such a pet project? And actually, these are really my pets. So when I had FOMO, I was always checking my phone. I was compulsively checking my phone to see on Twitter if there was something new. Many times there wasn't. And because of this, I had difficulties concentrating. I even had some sleeping problems, and I was just feeling restless all the time. And this was becoming a real problem for me. So I decided I had to deal with it. And one of the major factors in this is social media and the effects that it has on us as developers. Because one aspect of social media is that mostly only the success stories are shared on social media. We only see the best side of people. Who has ever shared a lot of their failures on Twitter, for example? Most of the time you only see, look at this cool thing that I did, look at this project that I completed. But what about the failures? You never hear about the failures. So always try to realize that there is an other side to the thing that people are presenting on social media. Another factor is that when previously, before social media, you maybe had the feeling that you were competing with developers just in your local area or in your company. With social media, you're connected to thousands of developers around the world. And you may get the feeling that you're competing with all of them. Obviously, that isn't necessarily the case, but you may get the feeling. And this can cause a real feeling of envy and also, again, fear of missing out. But in general, you can state that you're always missing out on something. If you're at Devoxx, you're probably not at another conference. If you're at a meetup, you might not go to a conference. If you're on holiday, you might not go to a conference. So in general, you're always missing out on something, but that's fine. One experience isn't necessarily better than the other one. So another thing that we have to realize is, as developers, we are committing to a lifelong learning. We have to keep learning new things all the time because our field is changing so fast. We have to keep learning new things all the time, and we have to stay open-minded to these new things. And this places a real burden upon us as developers. Because learning new things takes a lot of time. And it's just not that 1.5 hour you have on the train. It takes a lot of more time to really learn something new. And also it takes a lot of energy to keep open-minded all the time to new ideas and new concepts. So that's really hard. And I think as developers, we have to take it easy on ourselves and accept the fact that you have a limited time and you have a limited energy, and you can't be open to new things all the time. And that's fine. So in trying to figure out how I could deal with my FOMO, I read up on some articles about motivation. What motivates us as developers? And the 3 things are freedom. You want to have a sense of control in your work. The other thing is, again, learning. You want to have the sense that you're progressing in something. And the third thing is that you want to have the sense that the thing you're doing actually has a purpose. And I try to figure out the ways dealing with my FOMO centered around these 3 things. So the first thing that I do is I just try to put it into perspective. Realize that you can't know everything and you can't do everything. And that's fine. It's not a real problem. Another thing that you have to realize is that in your view, there will probably always be people that seem smarter than you or that seem more creative than you. But it doesn't define you necessarily as a developer. You have to take your own strengths and go from there. The second thing that I do is I try to prioritize and focus my learning efforts. So, as I said, we all have very limited time and a very limited energy to learn new things. You might want to spend some time with your family or have other social obligations. So that little time that you have left, you better spend that right on the right thing. So I try to figure out for myself, what things do I like? Where do I get my energy from? Are you a developer who likes to be more involved with algorithms, for example, like the math more? Or do you like infrastructure subject, for example? And I try to decide for myself, okay, what kind of subjects interest me? And I try to focus my learning on those subjects. Again, accepting that I can't know about everything. The third thing that I do is I try to align my learning efforts and my time and energy with my career. So I try to figure out, for example, a client that I would really want to work for, or a project that I really want to do. What skills do they require? What technologies are they using that I don't know about? And I try to put my effort in learning those new things. Also, you can look in your team. Which skills are missing right now? Which gap can you fill? And try to focus your time and energy on that. So the last thing that I do is I try to decide for each area or each subject, do I want to be an expert in this? or do I want to be more all-round developer? So accepting that you can't know everything about everything, you can say, okay, for example, this front-end technology, it's fine for me if I just know high level a little bit about it, and I will dive into it when it's needed. And for example, another technology, let's say Java, for example, you could say, okay, I will spend a lot of more energy and time into this because I really want to become an expert in this area. So actually, a colleague inspired me with a nice quote. He said, you probably know the quote, "A jack of all trades is a master of none." I said, I know that quote. But he said, often people forget the last part of it, which says, but it's often better than master of one. So as Venkat already said yesterday, people who know, who have come in contact with a lot of different concepts are more open-minded, and it takes a lot less effort for them to learn new concepts. So, and often it's better than to know a little bit about everything than just one thing. So that was more or less my talk. Please rate me, don't forget. And I want to end with this slide because we have to embrace the joy of missing out. You can also flip that thought. Embrace the joy of missing out because there's always something new to learn. You never have to go without a challenge. And apparently it also decreases when you get older. Thanks a lot.